What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video, I'm going to do a penetration test with my 416 Ruger elephant gun, and I'm going to be shooting it at some 16 gauge steel sheet metal, and this is actually a piece from a previous test that I did. You can see the bullet holes there. This is 16 gauge sheet metal, so it's a 1/16 of an inch thick. And I have a special wooden jig that I made to hold the sheets, and the jig spaces out the sheets about 1.5 inches apart. So I'm going to shoot at these sheets, and we're going to see how many sheets this 416 Ruger elephant gun can penetrate through. Now, the first 416 Ruger versus sheet metal test, I used solids, and if you haven't seen that test, I'll leave a link in the top right corner of this video. But I used the Hornady 400 grain dangerous game solid and the Buffalo Bore 350 grain mono metal. So in this test, I'm going to use expanding bullets, and we're going to see if there's any difference between the expanding bullets versus the solids. Now, normally when you shoot a solid, it penetrates deeper than expanding bullets. So I'm just curious what's going to happen in sheet metal, whether there's going to be a big difference between the expanding bullets and the solids. And so the ammunition I'm going to be using, we're going to use two types of loads here. The Hornady 400 grain DGX bonded, and this is a 400 grain bullet that is steel jacketed and has a high antimony lead core, and it's bonded to the steel jacket, and it has a flat nose, and that's this cartridge right here. You can see that flat nose there, and it has a steel jacket, and this bullet leaves the muzzle at 2,400 feet per second, and it can generate 5,100 foot-pounds out of this 20-inch barrel Ruger guide gun. And I have chronograph tested this load, and I can confirm that these numbers are true out of the 20-inch barrel. There's many people on the internet that say that you cannot achieve 2,400 feet per second out of the 20-inch barrel Ruger guide gun, and that is fake news, guys. I have chronograph tested all the major 416 Ruger factory ammo out there. And then we're going to use the Buffalo Bore 400 grain TSX, also a 400 grain bullet, leaving the muzzle at around 2,400 feet per second, generating 5,100 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. This one is a solid copper bullet, and it has a little hollow point, and there's petals that expand. And the TSX is known in the dangerous game hunting community as a very deep penetrating expanding bullet. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these two expanding bullets perform in sheet metal. Okay, the lead core steel jacketed bullet versus the solid copper expanding bullet. So this is going to be a very interesting test. I'm very excited. So I want to just show you guys the rifle I'm going to be using for this test. So this is a Ruger M77 Hawkeye guide gun. I have an Athlon Midas BTR Gen 2 1:6 power second focal plane scope, and it's illuminated. I have these express style sights that are actually custom sights made by Tooltech Gun Sight, and they have tritium vials in them, so when I'm on a dangerous game hunt, I can still use this rifle in low light or no light conditions. And it has a 20-inch barrel. It's stainless steel. It's a Ruger, so it's a controlled round feed bolt action rifle. And here I have this leather cartridge cuff from Mason Leather. Check them out. I have a promo code, 10% off. Information is in the description box. And they make all kinds of cartridge cuffs to hold spare cartridges when you're hunting. And look at the quality, guys. Absolutely heavy duty. Nothing cheap like those cheap Chinese made nylon ones, and the cartridges end up falling out after one hunting season. And here I'll just show you guys the other side. It's just a basic Ruger, and Ruger rifles are super reliable, heavy duty, bomb proof. So I'm going to set up these sheets of sheet metal. We're going to shoot at the sheet metal from 50 yards away with these 2 rounds here. Look at how massive these rounds are, guys. Just absolutely massive. I have big hands. Okay, look at the size of these rounds compared to my fingers. They're just absolutely massive. And these are actually standard length cartridges. So they're the same length as a 30-06. However, the case is so thick. It's a really fat case, and it holds a lot of powder. So it's able to generate a lot of energy. And after I shoot the sheet metal, I'm going to bring the sheet metal back. We're going to take a closer look at the sheet metal to see up close what kind of damage was done to the sheet metal. We'll go through all the sheets one by one, and I'm going to try to recover the bullets so we can take a closer look at the bullets and see what happened to the bullets. But I hope you guys enjoy this test, and let's see what happens. All right, guys, 416 Ruger versus 16 gauge sheet metal. Got my Ruger M77 Hawkeye guide gun, and first shot is going to be with the Buffalo Bore 400 grain triple shock X. I've chronographed this one out of this 20-inch barrel rifle, and I get around 2,425 feet per second, and that's 5,100 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. So let's see what happens, guys. All right, guys, so here was my hit right here. This hole is from a previous test. I'm just reusing old sheet metal from my last 416 Ruger test. But this was the hit with the 400 grain TSX. And I'm a little bit disappointed because it actually passed through all of the sheet metal, guys. I definitely did not expect that. So we have 17 sheets of sheet metal here, okay? And I definitely did not expect an expanding bullet to penetrate through this many sheets of sheet metal. So that's pretty crazy, guys. 17 sheets of 16 gauge sheet metal. Each piece is a 1/16 of an inch thick. So if you do the math, that's over an inch of steel. And that's just an expanding bullet. Now, when I did this same test with the solids, I was able to penetrate through 18 sheets with the Hornady DGS. So I was definitely not expecting an expanding bullet to penetrate through almost as many sheets, if not more, than the DGS. That's pretty impressive, guys. So I'm just gonna go through all the sheets real quick. So here was the first one. There's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. And I want to just show you guys the exit hole on the 17th sheet there. Look at that. It's still punched through with a lot of authority. So who knows how many more sheets it would have taken to stop the TSX. Probably at least 1 or 2 more. So basically the same amount of penetration as the DGS, the steel jacketed solid from Hornady. That's pretty crazy, guys. I definitely did not expect that. I'm a little bit disappointed I didn't bring more sheet metal. I should have brought a couple more sheets. We would know exactly how many it penetrated through, but at least 17. And if I had to guess, it probably would only penetrate another maybe 1, 2, or 3 sheets, because you can see that based on the hole, it kind of started to, looks like, tumble a little bit. So, and the hole was just massive here. So I don't think it would have penetrated through a lot more, but still at least 17 sheets, guys. Check this out. Just gonna show you guys that wound channel. Look at that, how it just gets larger. And the last 2 or 3 sheets, the hole is just massive. Check that out. 17 sheets of 16 gauge sheet metal with an expanding bullet. Wow, that definitely surprised me. So now we're going to hit it with the Hornady DGX bonded, which is a lead core steel jacket soft point. We'll see how many that one goes through. I'm guessing it'll probably go through less, hopefully, so we can see exactly how many sheets it goes through. But that is just crazy penetration, guys. Always surprised anytime I do a test with the 416 Ruger. It never fails to surprise me and amaze me. The penetration capability of this round is just incredible. It's just an expanding bullet here, guys. A TSX copper expanding bullet penetrating through over an inch of steel. That is just crazy. So let's hit it with the DGX bonded now and see what happens with that one. All right, guys, 416 Ruger, 400 grain DGX bonded. This bullet has a high antimony lead core with a steel jacket, and it's bonded to the core. And I've chronographed this load out of my 20-inch barrel Ruger guide gun, and I get around 2,400 feet per second, and that amounts to 5,100 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. Let's see what happens to the sheet metal. How many sheets do you think it'll go through? All right, guys. 416 Ruger, 400 grain, DGX bonded versus 16 gauge sheet metal. So here was my hit right there. And look at how many sheets it passed through. Look, you can see all the way down into the hole. You can see through all of the sheets there. So let's count how many sheets it went through. So here we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wow, guys, that is just insane. 12 sheets of 16 gauge steel sheet metal, 416 Ruger Hornady DGX bonded. I want to just show you guys the exit hole on the 12th sheet. Look at that, guys. Look at how it just completely blew apart the metal there. Massive exit holes. Look at that. That is just insane. So it almost went through as many sheets as the Buffalo Bore 350 grain solid. That one went through 14. So pretty interesting results. So I'll just quickly show you the wound channel here. So here was our first sheet. Here's the exit hole there. There we got the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. Check that out. Look at how it just ripped through that steel, and the holes just kept getting bigger and bigger. Look at that. That is just insane. And these last two sheets, I just can't believe how it just blew apart that metal. Man, that's just crazy. That is just absolutely insane. So we're actually going to take a closer look at this. I'm going to bring this home and I'll show you guys up close what these sheets look like. But that is just absolutely insane. Look at that. So 416 Ruger expanding bullets, Buffalo Bore 400 grain TSX penetrated through all of the sheet metal I had today, which is 17 sheets. You can see how it just zipped right through all that metal. Okay, and the 400 grain DGX bonded going through 12. Look at that, guys. That is just insane. So I'm going to bring these home. We're going to take a closer look. I'm going to see if I can recover the bullet. So I found the bullet. It was on the ground underneath the sheets, and it's actually still hot. Even like 10 minutes later, it's still very hot. If I touched it, I'd burn myself. But check that out, guys. That is impressive. That bonding really held up. You can see that the jacket stayed with the core. And this bullet has a steel jacket with a high antimony lead core. So it's like a hard cast lead. And it's bonded to that steel jacket. And you can see that it's still together. Okay, it didn't blow apart or anything. Look at that, guys. That is just crazy penetration. I'm convinced you could take down a T-Rex with one of these. I don't know why in the Jurassic World movies they didn't give Chris Pratt my 416 Ruger guide gun. I think that'd be a perfect dinosaur gun. Look at that. That's just insane. So I'm going to take these home. We're going to take a closer look at the sheets. I'll show you guys some of the damage that was done to the sheets. So stay tuned. All right, guys, I want to just go over the results of the test with you in detail. I want to show you all the sheets of sheet metal up close so you can see the damage that was done by this elephant gun 416 Ruger, over 5,000 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, absolute cannon. So the Hornady DGX bonded actually penetrated through 12 sheets of 16 gauge sheet metal. That is ridiculous, guys. That's actually 3/4 of an inch of steel. And this is a lead core bullet with a steel jacket. I was not expecting it to penetrate through that many sheets of sheet metal. Check this out, guys. And just perfect mushroom, actually. But basically the core stayed with the jacket. And I'm going to actually weigh this bullet for you guys so we can see how much weight retention we got with it. But check that out. That is just absolutely insane. I cannot believe that this bullet stayed together. And other than flattening out at the nose, it pretty much retained its shape through 12 sheets of 16 gauge sheet metal. That's actually almost as much as the Buffalo Bore 350 grain mono metal. That one penetrated through 14 sheets, so only 2 sheets less, guys. That's very, very interesting. And I suspect that's because of the sectional density. This bullet is 50 grains heavier than that Buffalo Bore mono metal. So our 2 shots were right here. This one was the DGX bonded, and this one was the Buffalo Bore TSX, which penetrated through 17 sheets. That's over an inch of steel. And it looked like it would have penetrated through several more sheets, which is really interesting because the Hornady DGS, the steel jacketed solid, penetrated through 18 sheets. So it seems like expanding bullets and solids have the same effect when you're shooting at steel for the most part, at least when you have the steel spaced out. If it's a solid plate, it might be a little bit different. But if you're shooting at multiple sheets of metal, whether it's an expanding bullet or whether it's a solid, doesn't have a huge difference as long as the expanding bullet has some kind of decent construction, whether it's a bonded bullet or a partition or something like that. If it's just a cheap cup and core, it won't hold together as well, so it'll reduce the penetration through the sheet metal. But very interesting results. I was not expecting this. The expanding bullets penetrating as much as the solid bullets. The DGX bonded penetrating only 2 sheets less than the Buffalo Bore mono metal, and the Buffalo Bore TSX penetrating 17 sheets. And I should have brought more sheets, but honestly, I didn't expect this much penetration with expanding bullets. I did not expect the TSX to penetrate through 17 sheets, guys. That's only 1 sheet less than with the solid Hornady DGS. I was not expecting that. I was expecting maybe 10 to 15, somewhere in there. I wish I would have brought just 5 more sheets because we would have been able to stop this bullet and figure out exactly how many sheets it went through. But I'm going to guess probably 18 to 20 sheets because it looked like it still had a lot of authority, and I'll show you guys those sheets in a minute. So these were our 2 shots right here. Okay, this is the first sheet, and you can ignore the other holes. They're from another test that I did on the same day. So here's our exit holes. Okay, this one here was from the TSX. You can see all the copper that was deposited there. And look at how it just ripped that sheet metal like it's a piece of paper. That's just crazy. And then here we have the DGX bonded, leaving a cleaner cut in the steel. Here's the second sheet. So here we have the DGX bonded. Here we have the TSX. Both of them pretty much look the same. No big difference in the second sheet. You can see a lot more copper deposited from that TSX because that's a solid copper bullet. So look at all that copper that was deposited. Meanwhile, the DGX bonded didn't deposit as much copper, so pretty interesting. Here we have the third sheet. Okay, you can see the hole from the DGX bonded here on the left is now starting to really get big. I can fit my index finger in this hole versus the TSX. The hole is still the same size. I can't even get my pinky in it. So that's the main difference between solid copper expanding bullets and traditional soft point bullets with a lead core. Okay, the lead core expands much faster than a solid copper bullet. Okay, so here's the TSX and then here's the DGX bonded. Look at the size of the hole. Huge difference, guys. Here we have the fourth sheet, and that hole is just really massive now from the DGX bonded, and the TSX hole still basically the same, but look at the size of that hole. I mean, that's just crazy, guys. I can fit my thumb in there. Look, can fit my whole thumb in there. That's just insane. And you can see the lead deposited around the outside of the hole. That's just crazy. And then the TSX, basically the same. Here we have the fifth sheet. Look at the size of this hole, guys. And you can see some lead deposited on the outside of the hole. And then the TSX still looks the same, basically. Absolutely insane. Okay, look at that exit hole, guys. That's just insane how it just punched through that metal like it's a piece of paper. It's just incredible. Here we have the sixth sheet, and now this hole here is really getting massive from the DGX bonded. Look at all that lead deposited on the outside of the hole. Pretty insane. The TSX still looks the same. And here's the back of the sixth sheet. Okay. Here we have the TSX, and then here we have the DGX bonded. Here we have the seventh sheet, DGX bonded and TSX. And here's the back of the seventh sheet. Pretty crazy. Here we have the eighth sheet. Look at the size of this hole. I mean, this is just crazy, guys. Look at this massive hole, probably at least an inch or more in diameter. That is just crazy. And then here we have the hole from the TSX is now starting to get big enough to where I can put part of my index finger in. But look at the difference between the DGX bonded and the TSX. Pretty insane. And here's the back of the eighth sheet. Here we have the ninth sheet, and you can see the TSX starting to expand a lot more, and a lot of lead being deposited here on the outside of the hole in the ninth sheet. So here we have the 10th sheet. Look at this, guys. This is just insane. This is the DGX bonded, and this is the TSX. The TSX is really starting to open up now, and that hole is big enough to where I can comfortably fit my index finger in it. Pretty insane. And here's the exit holes. Check this out, guys. Look at how that metal was just peeled back like a piece of paper. This is thick metal, guys. This is 16 gauge sheet metal, so it looks like you could just bend this back, but you can't. It's really thick metal. This is thick stuff, guys. Just punching through it like it's a piece of paper. Here we have the 11th sheet. Look at the size of this hole. That is just absolutely insane. I could put 2 fingers in there. Look at that. All right, that is just absolutely crazy. And now the TSX is big enough to where I can put part of my thumb in there. But really that DGX bonded, the hole is just absolutely massive. Look at that, guys. Absolutely insane. And here's the back of the 11th sheet. Look at how it just smashed through that metal, guys. That is just crazy. Look at that hole. Absolutely insane. Imagine what that would do to a game animal. Just massive amounts of destruction to living tissue. And here we have the 12th sheet. This is the last sheet that the DGX bonded penetrated through. And look at that hole there. That is just insane. Look at all the lead deposited around the hole. And here's the TSX still going through. And now I can still comfortably fit my index finger in it. And look at how the DGX bonded just blasted through the 12th sheet and just punched through that steel like a piece of paper. And it looks like you can bend this, but you can't. It's thick metal, guys. I have strong hands and I can't even budge it. So here we have the 13th sheet. You can see the DGX bonded was stopped by the 13th sheet here. Okay. And the TSX still going strong. Okay. Here we have the 14th sheet, TSX, still going strong. The hole is still basically the same size. Okay. Here we have the 15th sheet. Check that out. 15th sheet. Here we have the 16th sheet. Now the holes are starting to get bigger. Okay, I can fit my thumb in this hole now. Check that out. And here's the back of the 16th sheet. Look at that destruction. That is just incredible. Look at that. Here we have the 17th sheet. And I don't know how many more sheets it would have kept going through. My guess is between 18 and 20. But check this out. Still punching through with a lot of authority. I could not recover the bullet because it went into the dirt somewhere. But 17 sheets for the TSX. So now I want to weigh this bullet, the DGX bonded, so we can see what kind of weight retention we got with it. Alright guys, so I got my reloading scale, and just to show you that the scale is zeroed out, I'm going to put this 100-gram weight on the scale, and we got 100.00, so this scale is perfectly zeroed out. Let's switch to grains now and weigh this bullet. So 336.4 grains, so that's pretty good. It only lost about 65 grains. I'd say that's pretty good considering that I was shooting at steel. So I'm pretty impressed by these DGX bonded bullets, and I've done a lot of tests with them in other media like wood and other types of media, and they perform really well. Since Hornady started bonding these bullets, they really perform well. When they initially released the DGX bullets, they didn't bond them, and the core would separate from the jacket, and people started complaining, so Hornady bonded them, and now they're just a super tough bullet. Check this out, guys. That is just amazing. Look at how the jacket just peeled back perfectly, and this is a solid steel jacket, so it's really tough. It's designed for hunting in Africa where deep penetration is a must. So that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Let me know what other videos you want me to do with the 416 Ruger. In the meantime, check out my 416 Ruger playlist for all of my 416 Ruger content, including penetration tests. And if you're interested in seeing more sheet metal penetration tests, check out my sheet metal penetration tests playlist, and I'll leave a link to all these playlists in the top right corner of this video. Check out my sponsors. I have some great sponsors with some great deals, so check them out in the description below this video. Until next time, take care. May God bless you. May God bless America. And don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.